Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today, we're tackling something I know we've all felt at some point. Rejection.
Oh yeah, rejection, that feeling that can just make your stomach sink. Whether it's a personal setback or, something professional, it can really sting.
It's like that universal experience that feels so personal, right?
Uh,
And get this, I was reading that our brains actually process social rejection in a similar way to physical pain.
it's true. They both trigger the same areas of the brain, like the anterior cingulate
So that
cortex.
explains why it feels like such a punch to the gut, huh? You'd think our brains would have evolved past that, right? I
Oh,
mean,
right.
being turned down for a date isn't exactly the same as like running from a lion.
You'd think so, but that deep-seated fear of being left out, being ostracized, it goes way back.
Back to like our caveman days.
Exactly. Back then, belonging to a tribe meant survival.
Mm.
Rejection? Well, that signaled danger, a threat to your safety.
So even though the stakes aren't usually life or death anymore, our brains still react like they are.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to understand this primal response. We need to learn how to reframe rejection to move forward.
See it as a chance to learn and grow, rather than a reflection of our worth.
You got it. And speaking of growth, we've got some amazing stories lined up today. Stories of people who faced rejection head on and turned it into something powerful.
Okay, I love where this is going. So let's start with Sarah. Sarah's a listener who shared her story with us about applying for her dream job 3 times.
And getting rejected each time. Sarah's story is a great example of how persistence and learning from setbacks can really pay off.
So what did she do? Just keep hitting that apply button.
Oh no, she didn't just wallow. After each rejection, she reached out to the hiring managers, got feedback, really honed her skills and approach.
Then on her 4th try.
She landed the job. It really shows that sometimes rejection is a sign to tweak our strategy, not to give up on the dream.
So inspiring, right? It's like those no's were stepping stones to a yes.
Exactly. And it underscores that rejection doesn't always mean we're not good enough. Sometimes it's just not the right fit at that moment.
Or for that specific opportunity.
Right. And it's important to highlight that Sarah's success came from actively seeking feedback, learning, and adapting. That's key to overcoming that fear of rejection.
So let's hear another story. What about David? He reached out about starting his own business, right?
Yeah, a food truck. He had this amazing concept, totally believed in it, but investors just weren't biting.
Oof, I can imagine that's tough, especially when it's something you're so passionate about.
It is. But David's story is all about separating your self-worth from those external opinions.
So he didn't let those rejections define him or his idea.
Not at all. He used them. Each no became a chance to refine his business plan, work on his pitch, show his dedication,
So kept pushing and iterating.
until he found an investor who shared his vision. David's food truck is a local hit now, proving that persistence and belief in yourself can be more powerful than any rejection.
These stories are incredible. They show that rejection can really be redirection. But what about rejection in our personal lives? Like putting yourself out there romantically, that feels way more personal, even though logically we know it shouldn't.
Yeah, you're right. Romantic rejection can be especially tough because it ties into that deep need for connection we all have.
Like it's questioning our worth as a person, even though rationally we know it's often not about that at all.
Right. But the same principles apply. It's about understanding that rejection, in this case, might just be about compatibility, timing, or even, just individual preferences.
So not necessarily a judgment on you as a person.
Exactly. It's a chance for reflection, growth,
Right.
not a reason to give up on finding connection. Every no you hear just brings you closer to a yes that truly aligns with who you are.
Easier said than done.
Right.
Right. But I'm starting to see the truth in that. So each no is a step closer to the right fit.
Whether it's your career, relationships, anything.
This is already giving me a whole new perspective on rejection. But how do we actually do this?
Mm.
How do we rewire our brains to stop taking rejection so personally?
Well, that's what we'll dig into next time when we dive into some concrete strategies for dealing with rejection head on. Welcome back. So before we got sidetracked with all those great stories, we were talking about how to rewire our brains to see rejection differently.
Yeah, to see it less as a setback and more like, I don't know, a setup for something even better.
Exactly. It's like we need to hack our own mental operating system, stop that automatic negative response and see the opportunity instead.
So how do we do that? Where do we even start?
Well, one really powerful technique is called desensitization.
Desensitization.
Yeah, it's basically exposing yourself to rejection, but in small, controlled doses to build up your resilience.
So like a rejection vaccine. A little bit now so you can handle a bigger dose later.
That's a great way to put it. Think of it like public speaking. If you're terrified of it, you wouldn't start by giving a keynote speech to thousands of people, right?
No way.
You probably start small, practice in front of a mirror, maybe with a few friends, then a slightly larger group. Build up your comfort level gradually.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do we apply that to rejection? Like, what are some low-stakes ways to practice hearing no?
There are tons of options. You could try asking for a discount at a store, even if you're pretty sure they'll say no.
I like that.
Or maybe ask a friend for a favor that's a little out there. Or even submit your work to a publication or a contest where, let's face it, acceptance is a long shot.
Right, so it's about intentionally putting yourself out there, knowing rejection is possible, but the stakes aren't so high that it'll totally crush you.
Exactly. And as you practice, you'll start to notice something interesting. The sting of rejection, it starts to lessen. You realize it's not a judgment on you, just someone else's opinion or, a matter of circumstance.
You build up that confidence to keep putting yourself out there, even when you're not sure what the outcome's going to be.
Absolutely. And it's like you're training your brain to see rejection not as failure, but as a sign that you're pushing yourself outside that comfort zone.
And isn't that where all the real growth happens?
100%. And speaking of growth, another strategy that can be really helpful is reframing rejection as redirection.
Okay, I like that. Tell me more.
It's about shifting your perspective. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? You ask, what can I learn from this? Where can this lead me?
So instead of getting stuck in that closed door, look for the open windows.
Exactly. Think back to Sarah's story. The one who was rejected from that dream job 3 times.
Yeah.
If she hadn't been rejected, she might not have really taken the time to analyze the feedback she was getting, to really hone her skills. And ultimately, she got the job.
It's true. Sometimes rejection is a blessing in disguise, right? It forces us to reevaluate things, learn new things, and maybe even discover something even better than what we originally had in mind.
Right. And it's important to remember, rejection isn't always because we're not good enough. Sometimes it's timing, it's fit, it's circumstances outside our control.
So not taking it so personally.
Yeah, you can look at it like a filtering process. Rejection helps weed out the wrong fits and guides us toward the opportunities and relationships that are truly meant for us.
I like that, a filtering process. So what else can we do?
Well, this ties into another key strategy, focusing on what you can control. You can't control other people's decisions, right?
No, unfortunately not.
But you can control your effort, your attitude, your preparation.
So like if I'm applying for a job, I can't control whether the hiring manager likes me, but I can control how good my resume is, how well I prepare for the interview, the skills I bring to the table.
Exactly. And you increase your chances of success that way. But even if you face rejection, you walk away knowing you did everything you could.
And that takes a lot of the pressure off.
For sure. You go from feeling helpless to feeling empowered. You approach challenges with confidence, knowing that even if you don't get the exact outcome you wanted, you're still learning, growing, moving forward.
And sometimes that forward momentum is all we need to keep going, even when we face rejection. These strategies are great, but I think it's important to acknowledge that even with the best tools, rejection can still be tough emotionally.
You're absolutely right. It's okay to feel hurt, disappointed, maybe even a little angry. But the key is to not let those emotions consume you. Define your self-worth.
So how do we work through those feelings without letting them derail us completely?
That's where self-compassion comes in.
It's like giving yourself a hug, being your own best friend when things get tough.
Exactly. And reminding yourself that everyone experiences rejection. It's part of being human.
Instead of beating ourselves up, we offer ourselves a little grace. Remember that rejection doesn't define us. Just one chapter in the story, right?
Exactly. And by practicing self-compassion, we can bounce back quicker, use it as fuel for growth, start seeing ourselves as resilient, capable, worthy of love and success, no matter what anyone else says.
This has been so insightful. Seriously, I'm already looking at rejection in a whole new light.
I'm glad to hear that. But before we wrap up our deep dive, I want to leave you with one last thought. Think back to a time when you faced a major rejection. How did it shape your path? Did it maybe lead you to something even better than you originally imagined?
Whoa, that's a powerful question. And I know for me, I can definitely think of a few times when a closed door or a no actually led to something amazing.
It happens more often than we realize, right?
It does. It's like that saying, when one door closes, another one opens.
Exactly. Sometimes we're so fixated on that slammed door, we don't even see the new possibilities opening up all around us.
So how do we get better at seeing those open doors, especially when we're feeling, hurt or discouraged?
One thing that can help is to actively look for new possibilities. Instead of dwelling on that rejection, shift your focus. Explore different paths. Maybe that dream job wasn't the right fit, but it sparked an interest in a different industry, something you hadn't considered before.
It's turning that no into a now what.
Right.
Don't let it stop you. Use it to launch yourself in a new direction.
Exactly. Rejection can be a catalyst for change. It can push us out of our comfort zones and force us to rethink our goals, our priorities, even our beliefs about ourselves.
And sometimes that shakeup is exactly what we need to break free from those old patterns and, really step into our full potential. It's like we needed that push to realize we're capable of so much more than we thought.
That's the spirit. And remember, rejection doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means that particular path wasn't meant for you at that time. Trust that there's a different path, a better path, waiting to be discovered.
Like, we're all on this journey, and sometimes there are detours, roadblocks, maybe we even get lost along the way. But those twists and turns, they can lead to the most unexpected destinations, ones that are even more beautiful and fulfilling than what we had planned.
Love that analogy. And just like a road trip, it's about enjoying the ride. Embrace the challenges, the lessons, the growth that comes with facing rejection.
Because it's in those moments when we pick ourselves up and try again that we discover how strong we really are and how much we can overcome.
Well said. And as you face those inevitable rejections that life throws your way, remember the stories we shared today. Sarah, David, and so many others who turned those no's into fuel and achieved their goals.
They remind us that rejection isn't the end. It's just a plot twist, an opportunity to write an even more amazing story.
Exactly. So embrace the journey, learn from everything, and never ever let the fear of rejection hold you back. Go after those dreams and live a life that is truly yours.
This has been an inspiring deep dive. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and reminding us that we can turn rejection into redirection.
It's been my pleasure. And to everyone listening, remember, you are worthy, you are capable, you are resilient. Now go out there and make your mark on the world.